remember you. We mourn your suffering and loss. We honor you as best we can. We do this because we are still here. For the future generations, we ask that you remember. We look to you to keep our people's future alive after we're gone. We ask you to find strength in your ancestors and use the resilience of your people to create your future and that of your children. We ask you to ensure that when we are gone, through you, we are still here. Enjoy this Cherokee morning prayer song performed by the group Walela. Welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Deidre Schwartz, your worship associate for today's service, and I'm so happy to be here in your company this morning. I hope you enjoy our service today in recognition and honor to the First Peoples of Prescott. Thank you for joining us today. We welcome all of you with open arms and hearts and are so grateful that you've joined us today. I hope you are all well in mind, body, and spirit. The mission statement of this congregation is this: we are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us in Davis Hall after service for coffee and refreshments and conversation. For those here on Zoom, hello everyone on Zoom. There will be time to join a breakout room, which will be set up after service. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We're happy you're here. You can check out our website at prescottuu.com for more information about us, but if you are here in person, please introduce yourself at the end of service, and then please stay and chat with a member or two. Gratitude for today's service goes out to our guest speaker, Manuel Lucero, Executive Director of the Museum of Indigenous People. Martin on AV, thank you, Martin. And to the Granite Peak WOW, wow, the Women of Worth group, thank you for coming in and being Sunday managers, hospitality, greeters. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now is a very good time for everyone to check their phones to make sure they're on silent mode. We would appreciate that. In addition to the announcements that we're showing on the screen before service, you'll find other things happening at Granite Peak UU in the weekly Peak newsletter, on our website, in our ministers' videos, and you can find printed announcements outside in the foyer on the welcome table. You'll find our Faith Development Coordinator, Sandra Pelosios, teaching ages 5 and older across the street in our Faith Development building. We also have a nursery here in the building for youngsters under 5. So I'm going to just introduce Manuel with a moderately short bio. Thank you so much for being here today. So we have the pleasure of hearing from him, again, Executive Director of the Museum of Indigenous People here in Prescott. I know you all are familiar with that. Manuel has lived and worked in the Prescott area since 2007. His educational background is in American Indian Studies, and he is a veteran of the United States Army. He has been involved with the museum since 2014. His wife, Nicole, and their 3 children are involved with the local Native community and participate in the Pow-Wow and Gourd Dances throughout the Southwest, as well as being involved in the Prescott community at large. Manuel and his family originally moved to Arizona to facilitate his wife's education. He and his wife chose Prescott over the Valley because they felt a sense of community, one that was safe for their children. Manuel is a gourd dancer and a Southern straight dancer, like his father, brother, and his sons. He is currently the president of the Prescott Pow-Wow Committee and vice president of the Granite Mountain Gourd Society. He believes in the museum's mission and believes it is never too late to make things right, and we are honored and delighted to have him here with us today. Thank you. No. That was just the introduction. It is in the UU tradition to begin our service with the lighting of our chalice, and today Leslie Grady is going to honor us with lighting our chalice. While she is doing that, I will read an excerpt from God is Read by Vince Deloria Jr. Who will find peace with the lands? The future of humankind lies waiting for those who will come to understand their lives and take up their responsibilities to all living things. Who will listen to the trees, the animals, and birds, the voices of the places of the land, and the long-forgotten peoples of their respective continents rise and begin to reclaim their ancient heritage? They will discover the meaning of the lands of their ancestors. That is when the invaders of the North American continent will finally discover that for this land, God is read. I found a poem by poet laureate Joy Harjo. I might be really messing up her name, so I apologize, Joy Haro. It's called The Fight. The rising sun paints the feet of night-crawling enemies, and they scatter into the burning hills. I have fought each of them. I know them by name, from before I could speak. I've used every weapon to make them retreat, yet they return every night if I don't keep guard. They will elbow through openings in faith, tear the premise of trust, and stick their shields through the doubt of smoke to challenge me. I grow tired of the heartache of every small and large war passed from generation to generation, but it is not in me to give up. I was taught to give honor to the house of the warriors, which cannot exist without the house of the peacemakers. Following is a traditional Yuma birdsong. Please enjoy this music. Please join me in saying the words of our covenant, which will be on the screen in just a second. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. Quest sacrament. Our beloved community is the heart of Granite Peak UU congregation. As we experience a time of meditation and music, we will take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns of our hearts and our minds. If there is an event which moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, I invite you to quietly come forward and drop a pebble from the dish into our communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. May our joys and concerns surrounded by the healing communal water of our beloved community be acknowledged here today. So may it be. Please sing along these words of comfort, Spirit of life. Words will be on the screen. Twice is even better, right? As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us recognize and appreciate the connections and community that we have here each week. This congregation, its wide array of programs and livelihood are supported by your generosity, and we couldn't sustain without your financial support, as well as all who volunteer so many hours to keep us vibrant. We give back to the greater local community through our Seeds of Support program, and this month we are supporting Feed Your Neighbors. The Feed Your Neighbors program has fed thousands of food insecure individuals in our community since March of 2020. This program is a win-win because it provides fresh food to those who are struggling to put food on the table, while also supporting small family farms and in turn boosting the local economy. To give online, the link is available in the chat, or you can visit our website. Please enjoy the offertory music, and I will call it Circle Dance because I can't say the other. Yeah, I can read that. That's it. Okay, Circle Dance. That's what we're going to listen to. So please enjoy.
Lola.
acknowledge the generosity of spirit you have expressed through this offering. What you have given in generosity and love is received with great gratitude. Blessed be. At this time, I have the honor of welcoming Manuel up to talk about the First Peoples of Prescott. Thank you for joining us today. We're grateful to have you here to speak to us.
2.5 hours. Wopila, pato, Manuel Lucero IV, Jalagi, Ayeli Umuya, Ane Umuya. What I said was, hi, my name is Manuel. What I said was, hello, my name is Manuel Lucero. I'm from the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. And for those of you who don't know me, I just tricked you because you thought I was a white guy. That song we just heard is actually the counterclockwise dance, but the visuals that were behind it have to do with the gourd dance, which is a gift to us from the red wolf. And of course, there are stories that go with that. The counterclockwise dance is important because typically when we dance like at Pow-Wow or anything like that you folks might see, we always go sunwise or clockwise. But you go counterclockwise, and you'll notice at Pow-Wow there'll be typically men on the outside of their circle going backwards or counterclockwise. They're undoing something in their life that needs to be undone. So that's what that song actually means. With the wolves and the warriors and so on, that has to do with the gourd dance. And the gourd dance was given to us by a red wolf. Now, you got to think, when you hear a lot of these Indian stories, are we literally talking about speaking animals? Or are we talking about some guy named Red Wolf? Well, we don't know. But there's a really popular book that talks about a talking snake, and everybody believes that, so why not? So, long ago, there was this war party. Now, it's never been our way when we went to war to annihilate everyone on the battlefield. You always left someone alive, or a few of them alive, to go home and tell what happened. So there was this young man, he was part of a war party, and he was one of the ones that survived and was left alive to go home and tell what happened. On his way home, he got lost. And he was hungry and thirsty and scared, and as any human being would be in a situation like that. And as he was wandering about trying to find his way home, he heard this music and a gourd rattle shaking. And he crawled on his belly over this knoll and looked down, and he saw this red wolf was chanting and dancing and singing these songs. And when the wolf finished, he shook his rattle and said, "Ow," as they do. And he called the young man down and gave him some food, gave him some water to drink. And he told the young man, "Take these songs home with you, and this will be the way you welcome warriors home or mourn for those warriors who passed and return to your families in that way." And that's what our gourd dance is about. So when she said I was a gourd dancer, that's what we do. And that goes way back BC, before Columbus. And so the Gourd Society here in Prescott is called the Granite Mountain Gourd Society. And we were given the okay from our relatives back in Oklahoma and the Southern Plains people, where these dances originally come from, to have our Gourd Society here. So when you have the opportunity to go to a powwow, and you see a lot of the old men with the blue and red robes, and they're just kind of standing there shaking that gourd rattle around, that's what the gourd dance is. So you know a little more about that. All right. Hey, this says unmute myself. And we're going through all kinds of things without going through things, brother. Can we go back on those slides to the beginning? All right. So, as your leadership here said, she said that we're on Yavapai land. You betcha. You betcha. We are privileged enough to live in this beautiful land of the Yavpe, the people of the sun, is what they call themselves. You know, today, we know this is Yavapai land, but many of us live here. Whether you're non-native or native, we all live and work here, as people have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. Of course, when you hear our stories, we came from here. We were always here. The scientists will tell you that we walked across some Bering Land Bridge in Alaska and then an ice-free corridor down into what we now call the United States. But in our stories, we've always been here. And up until recently, those scientists were saying, well, they've only been here about 10 to 15,000 years, and that's it. So they're newcomers, and we have every right to come here and take from them because they haven't been here that long either. Well, that's not true. Scientifically speaking, the most recent findings have been in White Sands, New Mexico, where they found footprints that with the organic material down in those geographic layers of sediment, those footprints are found, puts us at a very conservative estimate of 23,000 years. Human beings right here in North America. So the more they find, the more our stories are true. That's how I'm looking at it. But again, Wato, thank you for inviting me to come and speak. The last time I spoke here, geez, was probably maybe 8-10 years ago. And she made the joke about 2.5 hours. I was slotted for 45 minutes, and I ended up talking for 2.5 hours. We were talking about everything that has happened since Columbus got lost, and we found him floating around the sea, and all those things that have happened, and a majority of them not good. And I'm pretty sure we passed around more than a few tissue boxes that day. So this talk's going to be very different, I hope. One, I'm not going to take up 2.5 hours of your time. And two, I want folks to walk away with a better feeling and a better understanding of who your neighbors are and who the original people were that inhabited this place, who were living here and loving here, and laughing here and crying here, dying here, just as we are today. So many of our stories, we are not allowed to tell them outside of wintertime. Wintertime is a time of telling stories. So I have words up there that kind of sum up the Yavapai creation story. But we're only allowed to tell these stories from when the first snow falls or the winter solstice, whichever comes first, to the spring equinox, and then we can't say them anymore. And the reason for that is because a lot of our stories have to do with animals, and during the wintertime, most of the animals are sleeping, so they don't know we're talking all kinds of mess about them. They won't be upset with us and give us rheumatism. So we don't tell those stories outside of winter. But there's a brief rundown here. Typically, this story is told over a 4-day time period. So there's a lot more to it than what I have written there. But essentially, the place of immersion for the Yavpe, for the Yavapai people, is Montezuma's Well. And depending on the band, you might hear it be another spring out there in Sedona area. I got to tell you, when I first came here to Arizona with my wife and children, we drove and did the tourist thing and went and checked out the red rocks at Sedona. And of course, when you see that for the first time, you know that's a special place. You know it. And I was like, wow, the ancestors must have really knew this is a sacred place. And that's just a visual impact, you know. And then we drop down into Sedona proper, and you see all that commercialism and the McDonald's with the turquoise, and I felt ill, physically ill. What have these folks done to this place? And I'm not even Yavapai. I was telling this story to one lady who was very much into the New Age, spirituality and whatnot. I'm more into the old age stuff. But I was telling her that story, and I said, I felt physically ill when I saw the commercialism. She goes, it was the vortexes. And I was like, no, it was McDonald's. It was all the woo-woo stuff and the Indian jewelry from Taiwan. It was all that. But with the Yampe and many other indigenous people, we have a direct tie to the land. These mountains that surround us all have stories. Our ancestors' bones are buried in these lands as indigenous people. And I think we should think about that every time we move about and walk about on Mother Earth in that way. To remember whose land was here first and what happened with to make room, if you will, for the rest of us. Because I'm a transplant too. I may be indigenous, but I ain't from here. I am blessed to have beautiful friends who allow me to come on their wonderful reservation here. One of the smallest in the country, by the way. And go to sweat lodge and go to ceremony and go to things like that and pray with them. And I'm proud to call some of them family. But there were some folks that came here before them. The original people of Prescott we refer to as the Prescott culture. Well, why do we call them the Prescott culture? That's because 1,000 years ago, we don't know what the heck they called themselves. And human beings change. I'm gonna step down off of this. That's better. Human beings change. And I'm like Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. I like to move around a lot, so this is kind of bothering me just standing in one place. I'm back here shaking my leg, you don't even know it. I'm just kidding. But I always tell people when they come into the museum, because folks will say, well, then this group was here, and then this group was here, and there wasn't lines and fences and borders. That's a European concept of dividing up the land and saying, this is mine. We didn't have that. We do what every human being does, and I don't care where your ancestors came from. We exchange three things: ideas, goods, and DNA. We love doing that. So you got to think as time goes on, people change. When your European ancestors came here, they might have been German or Irish or Scotch or what have you, but now you're American, right? You changed who you were. It happens with everyone. So the original people, the Prescott culture, whatever they called themselves, we're here, and we know them most prevalently by the artifact presence, and they left a lot of them. Of course, there's also the burials and so on. But it was centered around the Gordon Creek area, and from about 200 to about 1400. And Prescott here was kind of the heartland of that. Now, it's a prehistoric shell and turquoise trade route, connecting basically everyone in the Southwest. And what would they have out here that would make them a hub for trade? What would the people have here as a resource? They were trading for turquoise and whatnot up north, maybe some obsidian, some good obsidian, because our obsidian out here is kind of milky looking and doesn't flake very well. Macaw feathers, cacao. Who likes chocolate? Thank you, Native Americans. That's right, your Smith Swiss pack, Miss Swiss Miss has the blonde girl with the little Dutch hat. No. That's from here. The ancestors did not use sugar to flavor their chocolate, though. We used chili peppers, so you had hot chocolate. And it was drank ceremonially, typically, because it's a stimulant. That's why we don't give it to the kids before they go to bed. For two, it's a love potion. It's considered an aphrodisiac, and that's why, ladies, you get chocolate on Valentine's Day, because we're trying to butter you up, so don't fall for it. Or do. But that's chocolate. But anyhow, they were trading these things. We were trading those macaws from down in Central America and so. They were trading chocolate. They were trading shell from the West Coast out this way. They were trading for that turquoise up north and obsidian and so on. But what did they have? Well, there is something that many of us indigenous peoples, no matter where we're from, cherish. What I'm about to show you is called a chanupa. You'll probably know it by another name. The peace pipe. Now, this is from Mother Earth. This is toward Father Sky, because a cottonwood tree, typically it's cottonwood we use, reaches up like a man praying to Father Sky. The bowl is made from catanite or argillite, or red pipestone is his common name. It's only found 2 places in the whole planet. One is Pipestone, Minnesota. Kind of a no-brainer there. The other one is right here in Chino Valley. So these folks had this red pipestone that all of us indigenous people, no matter what tribe, we prize this. We consider it, when you see it geographically laying in its natural space, we consider it literally the blood of our ancestors in the ground. So when we take a piece of it and carve our sacred pipe out of it, it becomes that physical representation in a female form, the cottonwood stem being in a male form. And when a man and woman come together, you get a gift from Creator. So this symbolism is that Creator is in the conversation. So when the pipe is smoked, no lies can be told. And that smoke carries your prayers up and your words up, your thoughts up to Creator in that way, to the Great Spirit. So we would strike treaties, marriages, trade agreements, all sorts of things were solidified through smoking the pipe. So, of course, our American forefathers didn't understand that. It was just tobacco. Yeah, there's no Asian agriculture in here, it's tobacco. Contrary to popular belief, it's just tobacco. But having this item to trade was what made this area an absolute hub for that trade, and a hub as a trade route, which means these folks were pretty doggone rich. They were doing pretty good. And they moved about all the way down the Salt River, all the way up to the San Francisco Peaks, almost to the border of what is now New Mexico, and all the way to the Colorado River in California. They had a huge swath of territory. They're really known, as far as artifacts go, for their anamorphic figurines, or, toys. You can see bighorn sheep in there, bears, some antelope, dogs, and all kinds of little critters. But anytime you find a Prescott culture site, chances are you're going to find some of these guys. But the pottery is the most prolific. We call it Prescott grayware. And the archaeologists of old used to call it the ugly pottery. Because alongside it, you would find some, red on buff, you'd find, black on white, you'd find some really nice stuff from other places. Well, again, if these folks made stuff to use, if they wanted something pretty, they'd trade for it. So, if Mother's Day was coming up, they'd go harvest them some pipestone and go trade their neighbors from Tucson or what have you to get some pretty pottery. But they made stuff to use. And folks say, well, how come they decorated the inside of that bowl and not the outside? Well, humans being humans, you could only guess that How many of y'all have kids or grandkids and they eat their cereal and they get to see the Cookie Monster at the bottom of their bowl, or Spider-Man, or whatever the case may be? Well, because you finish your food and you get to see the prize at the bottom. The ancient Greeks and Romans used to put naughty pictures down there, and the kids would want to eat their food so they could see the naughty picture. But, you know, people are people, and that's pretty much how that works. These looks like twisted rope going around to make this pot here. That isn't what's going on. What they did is they used their thumbnails and just pressed into the clay all the way around it, and it made that, the corded pottery as we call it. But that's literally from another human's thumbnail pressed into there. Next slide, please. So this is the type of pottery you'll find if walking around here in Prescott, because this whole area is just silly with archaeology. You'll find a lot of that black on white. You'll find your Prescott grayware. You'll find that red on buff. You'll find all kinds of cool stuff. And again, these folks wanted something pretty. They traded for it because they had the resource to do so. And they travel around so vastly. They were able to do that. Typically, you're not going to find a whole pot. If you're digging around your backyard, putting in a new garden or something like that, you're going to find tiny little sherds like this. And you can see where I put the size on there. That's literally 5 centimeters. So about a ½ inch, if that quarter inch. That they're not very big. Since ranching and all that, cows have stepped all over them. We've stepped all over them. They're 1,000 years old. They've been through the ringer. But this is what you're going to find. This is the exact same piece, just flipped over on it. So typically the outside of it will have that red color, and the interior will have that gray color, usually from wear and being used. I always talk about how the pottery is made, especially when I got little kids touring the museum. And I tell them, you know, wood doesn't burn hot enough to get that mud to turn into a ceramic. They have to use another material in their kiln to get that to turn into ceramic. What do you think they use? And I get everything from coal to, well, wood again, to sticks. And I said, nope, it's poop. Buffalo dung. Buffalo dung. I have a Hopi friend who's a traditional potter, and he was telling me that he trades with his Navajo neighbors for their sheep dung so that he can use it to fire his pottery, because the government hates trade, for one. That's why we like it. For two, he was telling me about all the different kinds, and if it's too hard, you know, it'll burn too long, and if it's too soft, it'll burn too quickly, and da-da-da. He's back and forth, and he's really drawing me in, telling me all about how he selects the type of trade items. And he goes, do you know what that means? And I was like, oh, no. And he goes, I really know my... I didn't say the whole word, we in church. Yeah, oh, we can say it here? Yeah, all right. But yeah, he really drew me in with that one. Then he's like, yeah, that means I know my own shit. I was like, oh, thanks. Right on. All right. So today, the Yavapai are officially represented by 3 tribes. The Yavapai Apache Nation is in Camp Verde, the Fort McDowell Yavapai, and the Yavapai Prescott Indian tribe. During the Indian Wars, the United States Army came in and they started rounding folks up. And if you ask me, the Indian Wars never ended. They just don't use rifles anymore. Unless we're protesting for clean water, then they like using rifles. But they were rounded up because, according to the United States Army, all the Indians in Arizona were Apaches, and they were all bad Indians. So they were referred to in the history books. So if you go to look these things up, look for Western Apache. They're talking about Yavapai. Now, the Apache and Navajo people speak an Athabascan language. They come from up north. But the Yavapai are a human-speaking people. That's why that bird song you heard said Yavapai on it, but it was a human song. They're a human-speaking people. And so after being rounded up and forced to walk, first to San Carlos and then from there to San Carlos Apache Reservation. Back then it was a POW camp, and was until the 70s. They were put there amongst the rocks and the snakes and the cactuses, and they were told to be farmers. After decades of imprisonment, the Army, in its infinite wisdom, said, "Holy smokes, these folks don't even speak the same language. Y'all can go home now." So they had to walk again back, and they were placed under the watchful eyes of soldiers at Fort Whipple, which is now the VA hospital. That's why the reservation and the VA hospital are right next to each other. They were not allowed to speak their language. They were not allowed to do their dances, sing their songs. The men were not allowed to have weapons, so they couldn't hunt. The only thing they were allowed to do is have baskets, make baskets. And that was because it was convenient. A white woman here in town, instead of ordering a laundry basket or a waste basket off a Sears catalog and waiting for it to show up on a train from St. Louis, she could just trade some fabric or a sack of flour to a Yavapai woman and get her basket right now. So it was convenient. They were allowed to do that. So today, most of the older Yavapai art, historical art you'll find, will be baskets. But when they got back here and were set there at Fort Whipple, there were only 6 families left. The government did their job very well. Today, there are less than 400 Prescott Yavapai people. And I do want to apologize if we have any Yavapai relatives in here for me speaking before you. But it's kind of the order of the day. I do apologize. Next slide, please. So the most common interpretation for the name Yavapai or Yavapai comes from Inyalave, which is the sun, and Pai, which is people. So you have the Wallapai, the Supai, the Yavapai, Paiute, the Pai down in Mexico, same people, just a line got drawn on a map by some jerk, and now they're Mexicans. The people, and it's the people of the sun, which I think is pretty appropriate for these sun-drenched hills and valleys we have out here in Prescott. But they're a wonderful and generous people. And I'm proud, again, to call some of them my friends and my family in that way. So with the linguistic and cultural similarities, you'll find with the other Pai tribes, they're well known for of course, their baskets, and they're known for that because that's all they let them do. But they were master weavers, master basket makers. So the dark colors in those basket patterns come from devil's claw. Have you ever seen that plant? It's got this weird, it looks like an alien pod from some sci-fi movie. It's got these weird hook things and so on. Well, what you do is you soak those hook things, you soak them and peel the dark fibers off of there, and you use that to make your basket. The seed pod itself is ground up and made into a poultice, and so salve is added to it. And it works for arthritis. So that devil's claw helps the basket weaver twice. And you can see that devil claw pattern in some of those baskets. In the lower one here at the bottom, you can see how it kind of goes out like that. It looks like those hooks from the devil's claw. You'll see that pattern repeating itself. You also see little swastika symbols in there. We would call them whirring logs. I've had folks come into the museum, "Why would you have that symbol on there? Oh, that's hatred." And ma'am, that basket was woven 200 years before Hitler was born. That symbol does not mean what you think it does. They took that and perverted it and made it something ugly. That is not what that means. Next slide, please. Today, the Yavapai people and that bird song you heard, those are bird dancers. They're still doing their thing. They've reclaimed what they got from their Wallapai relatives, from their Supai relatives, from the other Yavapai bands, and are slowly reclaiming what they have. Today, the Prescott Yavapai only have, I believe, 3 full speakers of their language. The other Yavapai tribes have a different dialect, so they're having to adopt some Supai words, some other Yavapai words with different dialect and so on to try to put the language back together and teach it to the children. They do have a children's language program going on in the res over there. It's not mandatory for the kids to go, but it is there, and they are making progress with the revitalization of their language. So it's good to see those young ladies out there wearing those ribbon skirts and those cowls that they have around their neck. Those are made from thousands of teeny tiny seed beads stacked together. They're quite beautiful. That's a lot of work. Next slide, please. Today here in Prescott, you got folks from all over, artists, dancers, transplants like myself. As a matter of fact, there are, I believe the last census said there are over 3,500 and some odd people who claim indigeneity and claim Native American heritage in the greater Prescott area, and less than 400 of them are Yavpe. So the rest of us are Navajos and Comanches and Chickasaws and Cherokees and Yaquis and so on and so on. So we bring with us our own cultures, but you know the golden rule, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So I don't go in there and into the sweat lodge on the Yavapai res and try to sing my Cherokee songs. I try to learn theirs. And so when I was hearing that bird song, you see me, I'm taking my gourd rattle with it because I'm trying to learn their stuff, because that's what you do. And their music is beautiful too, so I don't mind trying to learn. So we're made up of many tribes. On the top there, the gentleman with his arms crossed, that's Victor Webb. He is a world-class chef, and he used to be the lead chef at Terra Thai restaurant. So you had this Pima Indian cooking Thai food in Prescott. But he was sent by his tribe to all these culinary schools all over the country, and then he studied abroad for a while. And then he worked on cruise ships as a chef, and then he ended up here in Prescott. And he's recently moved back to the res. He had some health problems, and he needed to be home with his family. But he's a good friend of mine, and you know, he's a big dude. And I heard an old saying, you never trust a skinny chef. You know, that guy could cook, I tell you. And just next to him is Barb Karkula. She is Citizen Band Potawatomi, and she is the board president of the Museum of Indigenous People. And she was instrumental and was around at the time we did the name change. How many of y'all remember the smoke eye? Oh yeah, me too. She was around for that and was our board president at the time. Majority of our board of trustees are Indigenous people now, so that's a good change that's happened. Below there, I would say last but not least, would be Vida Blackwater. She is a small business owner here in Prescott. She is an esthetician, and she partners with 2 other gals, and they run a beauty salon here in town. I forget the name of it. But she's an awesome lady. And these are folks who are your neighbors. You know, they're the folks that help make up our community and whatnot. And of course, we got that picture of Prescott Pow-Wow with the light shining behind that little girl's head, which looks like the sun or moon set or something. And it looks really cool, but it's just one of those lights with the diesel generator, you know. But it's a cool picture. But that's right here, right here in Arizona, where we got this wonderful culture that we're all lucky enough to witness, at least peek through a window, if not an open door. We also have folks that maybe not run a business here in town, but they're still part of our community here. On the top with the the blue and red ribbon shirt, is Mr. Gary Keene. He's Acoma and Navajo, and he's a medicine man, very powerful medicine man. Matter of fact, I had him when I sent my oldest son away to West Point. We had Mr. Gary Keene do that ceremony for him for protection. And he's a wonderful storyteller, and he's actually gifted me a few stories. And those of you who don't know me, I'm quite a storyteller myself. Below that, in the middle, there is Michael Goodluck. Some of you may know him. He's a flute maker and a wonderful human being. He just had surgery here and was at the hospital. So if you get a chance, send some prayers his way. He could use them right now. He was paralyzed from his neck down for a little while, so which put a damper on him making flutes and playing. But he's a wonderful guy, Navajo. And that really pretty lady with the shawl, that's my beautiful wife. Nikki, as a professor of history at Arizona State University and has been for the last 8 years, she also moonlights. I guess she's more moonlighting a professor now because she only teaches one class online. But she works at Arizona Oncology as a records keeper. And she's super smart and beautiful and wonderful, and I love her very much. I hope this is recording so she can see that. She's smarter than I am. She knows everything. Yeah, so again, these are folks that are here in town that are your neighbors, and that's kind of who we are. If you get a chance, come out to the Pow-Wow every third weekend of September. That's my shameless plug there. I actually am no longer president of the Pow-Wow committee. After 12 years, I stepped down from that. I'm still involved. You don't get away. But I'm no longer the president, which is awesome because I'm losing enough hair, and I don't want to lose any more. I have 2 teenagers in my house. That's enough. But come out of the Pow-Wow, and you'll see tribal members from all over the continent come and dance and pray and sing and laugh and cry and eat greasy fried bread and some other fried foods that will give you diabetes. It's wonderful. So what you see there is a traditional home or wickiup that the Yavpe would occupy before colonialism, of course. And you can see they lived very lightly on the land. They only planted seasonally for what they needed. They hunted and gathered the rest and traded for what they wanted. But that's one of their traditional homes there. Are there any questions of me? Comments? Manuel, you suck. Don't ever come back. Maybe after service. Okay. Did I take up enough of your time? Wato. Yes, go ahead, sir. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Yavapai or Yavapai, then you have your what we call Supai and there's all the other Pai groups. That's how they blend together. As a matter of fact, here, in June 14th, there's a gathering of the Pais. And it's not a bake-off. But it'll be right here in Prescott this year. The Prescott tribe is hosting. So keep your ear to the ground for that. Yeah, see that Indian joke there? Keep your ear to the ground for that. If your ministry is really interested in learning more about that and speaking to that, I say go and have some pie. Yeah, absolutely. They'll be sharing their dances. They'll be sharing songs. They'll be sharing things like that. So it'll be really, really something you want to look forward to. Arts, crafts. They'll have booths with things for sale. Put some good medicine in your house. No. This will either be on the res or it'll be downtown. I think it's on the res, 600 Easy Street, 6th Street. Yep, no, it's on the res. That's all right. The res will be open that day, probably in the community center and in the parking lot area there. Again, go get you some fry bread and support local Native artists. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. How does one become an ally with appropriate respect and understanding? Well, the mission of our museum is to instill understanding and respect for the indigenous cultures of the Southwest. You become an ally by learning. And the more you learn, the better ally you can be. We also, as an ally, even amongst other tribes, as myself, even though I'm mixed blood, but an indigenous person, I have to know when to shut my mouth. I have to know when to open my ears. You know, Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk. So I have to refrain from trying to occupy those spaces that I have no business occupying. And I have to learn to refrain from asking questions that may not be appropriate to know. And refrain from doing those things like that. Self-discipline, I think, makes you a great ally. But learning as much as you possibly can, and the best way to do that is through proximity. You know, you're never gonna plant a plant and have it grow if you don't get your hands dirty. You gotta get some dirt under your fingernails, or that plant's not gonna grow. You can sit there and look at a packet of seeds all day. If you're not sticking it in the dirt, it ain't gonna happen. You gotta get dirty. You gotta have that proximity. That metaphorical dirt, mind you. I'm not talking about having a dust bath like a chicken. Yes, ma'am. Yes, he is. She's talking about Michael Goodluck, and yes, he is a wonderful man. Send your prayers his way. He's got his son with him that's helping him out. He just had that surgery. He's recovering and doing well. Send those prayers that way. I visited him when they were prepping him. So the nurse is in there with the razor taking care of his sparse facial hair because none of us can seem to grow a magnificent beard. And she's trimming him up and on the back of his neck because that's where the surgery happened. And I came in there and I left him when we brought him some flowers and a card. And then I prayed with him and left him an eagle feather to pray with and stay with. And he said when he was up and about, he would get a hold of me. But I know that he's is recovering and has regained movement and so on with his arms. It's just not fully functional enough to play that flute the way he needs to just yet. So if you could send that good positive energy, send that healing energy that way, and he would appreciate that very much. So when he's able to get out and about again, well, you know, he likes a little attention, so that'll happen. Anything else? Yes, sir. No, that was, oh geez, that was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago now. He graduated West Point, spent his time in the Army. It was funny because it's like, Dad, I'm going to go to airborne school and I'm going to go to Ranger school. I'm going to do all this stuff you did. No, you get a desk job, come home. I didn't do all that crap, so you can go do it too. So he now has a cybersecurity company. He lives in Boston, and he's got clientele from France and Germany and so on. And he flies helicopters with tourists, you know, for fun, because he makes gobs of money. And he shows me up every Christmas. He gets his siblings, my younger kids, like all these awesome laptops and video games. And I'm over there like, oh, here's some socks, kids. I told him last time I talked, so just send me the money so it looks like I did it. But yeah, he's doing quite well. The helicopter thing he just decided to do. He already had his Cessna's license as a Cessna pilot, small engine pilot, and he can also sail boats, smaller boats and whatnot. He's a maniac, that guy. But yeah, he's living in Massachusetts and living a good life. Wacho, thank you. Wopila, thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much, Manuel. At this time, we're going to play our closing music video. It's a contemporary production called One World, We Are One. After that, I'll just have some closing words. We've got an announcement from Rick Denny, and then you'll be free to go. I understand if you've got plans, you have to go, but hope you enjoy this video.
All together, one voice saying, yes, we can. Each one, reach one till we pull ourselves up, cause we all one fam. From the rest to the block, to the Perry, to the rock, we connect that love. Cause the people with power feel the power of the people when we stand as one.
I got you stuck off the realness. We be indigenous, you heard of us. Max Heaven, the murderer, spreading the love with the water and earth. And the stand against hate, gotta know what the purpose is. We rise, the climate is changing, the signs of the times. It's time to start praying. Pray for the world and community. Prayers are more powerful when we're in unity.
Today, hungry for a change, new path to take. Can't stay the same, it's been too long. Pointing out who's right or wrong, can you hear me out? All we need is a little bit of love. Take time to heal and it starts with us. Hand in hand, I put my trust. In one world, reunite, it's a must. Hold on to hope, we can overload. We can break the code with a single note. Sing out for the world to hear that our time is now, no more for tears. I looked into my son's eyes, a new day in a new light. Lift the veil and dwell so peaceful. Come together, one world, one people. What I know, we are one. What I know, no, we are one. It's who you are, it's who I am. We all bleed the same blood, yeah.
We got beautiful differences, let me give you a peek. Over 500 tribes, but we all unique. And if we could not compete to eat, nothing could beat us. Jealousy is more dangerous than diabetes. See this unity? Imagine what it looked like. You would think we would do whatever it took, right? I would do anything for this good life. We could do anything if we unite.
Young native, you are my savior. So you pray for our inspiration. From the block to your reservation. Any color, all my relations. From the basement, worldwide invasion. Every day we're painting our faces. Fighting back but learning our language. Dancing our dances, saying our prayers.
What I know, we are one. What I know. voice, one choice, one earth, one love, one birth. We like to live. We like to live, yeah.
One people, we stand all together, one voice saying yes we can. Each one, reach one till we pull ourselves up, cause we all one fan. From the rest of the block to the Perry to the rock, we connect that love. Cause the people with power, for the power of the people, when we stand as one.
What I know, we are one. What I know, no, we are one. What I
Also from the book, Braiding Sweetgrass, I leave you with this. We need acts of restoration, not only for polluted waters and degraded lands, but also for relationships to the world. We need to restore honor to the way we live so that when we walk through the world, we don't have to avert our eyes with shame, so that we can hold our heads up high and receive the respect, acknowledgement of the rest of the earth's beings. Now I'd like to extinguish the chalice, and then after the chalice extinguishing, Rick, you can come up and make your announcement. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. Fire of together.
I hope you're getting tired of hearing me say this, but I do want you to be sure and try to join us on the 2nd of June to have a presentation about options and discussion of options about what to do with the facility, particularly the sanctuary. On the following week, which would be the 9th, there'll be just an open discussion, a chat, and on the 16th, we'll do some voting to really try to get a consensus about where we want to move forward. So that's, as I say, I know you're getting tired of hearing this, but it's really important to keep those things in mind. The only last thing I would say is see Dion Rusk. During the coffee hour, she has some information about the school board election. Thank you.
Okay, for those that are on Zoom, you'll be invited to a breakout session if you'd like to join now. And at this time in the sanctuary, is there anyone that would like to introduce themselves as a guest? Anybody? No pressure. But we do hope you'll stay and have some refreshments with us in Davis Hall next door. So with that, everyone have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed the service.